Hey everyone, it's Tyler Strike from Universal Rackets, and this is going to be an amazing video. In this video, I'm going to teach you how you can make every single aggressive shot. Have you ever been playing pickleball? You have a sitter, volley, right here. You're gonna smash it down and you miss the ball long. Have you ever had a drive that you go and you wind up, your opponent lets it go, and you make that ball go out? In this video, we're going to teach you how to get every single one of your shots in. We're going to teach you how every single aggressive shot that you take, how to make it drop into the court and never go long again. Guys, this video or this tip completely changed my game personally. A couple weeks back, I was having trouble with every single aggressive ball. I would go, I would hit, and I would miss it long, and I had no clue what was going on. And then my opponent just told me, and we all play together, right? So we all give each other tips and tricks and everything. And he's like, Tyler, just tilt your paddle down. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I always tilt my paddle down. And what I realized after watching a couple of videos of myself, when I'm going to hit, I'm opening up my paddle. Notice this is where many players, including myself, go wrong, and this is why they miss long. They're going to hit, their paddles open at contact when the ball's above the net, and watch what happens. It goes long every single time. Once again, I have a ball over the net, right? And I go and I hit, and I go long every single time. The first thing, before I give you this amazing tip, I have to have you understand that when you have a ball that's higher than the net, how do you make the ball into the court? You have to hit down on it. You're going from above the net to in the court. When you have a ball that's low, you have to, in order to get it over the court, you have to hit up on it. When it's neutral, you kind of have to do a little bit in the middle. However, I was working on so many times being at the kitchen, opening up my paddle face, that I would open up my paddle face while I was at the kitchen. What you need to do in order to make these shots, you must tilt your paddle face down. Once again, if you want to make all your shots at the kitchen, you need to make sure that your paddle face is always tilted downward. So here's a normal continental grip. This is what everyone teaches you in pickleball. If you want to make a high floater ball, what you need to do is you need to make sure the face of your paddle is always tilted downward. By keeping the face of my paddle tilted downward, now when I hit a ball above the net, now I can swing down on it. Now after contact, the ball's going to go in the court rather than, and this was me before, at contact, my paddle is either square or open, the ball is going to go long. So anytime that you have a high ball, I want you to automatically think that you're going to tilt the paddle. Notice, this is a huge thing. A lot of players, they end up being late on these floaters because they do this. They're either not, they end up missing, but if they do this tip, watch, this is what you might do. You might turn and then you tilt. If you turn and then you tilt, watch what's going to happen. I'm going to turn and then tilt. You're not going to have time. I need you to turn and tilt. Once again, if you have a forehand high floater, turn and tilt. As soon as you see the high ball, you need to turn your paddle to the forehand side and tilt the paddle downward. Now, you do not tilt the paddle downward a ton. I want you to think 12 o'clock's here, right? 12 o'clock's here, 6 o'clock's here. If you're a right-handed player, I want you to be at 11 o'clock. If you're a left-handed player, I want you to be at 1 o'clock. We like to say this is more of an eastern grip. You don't want to be tilted super down like a western grip, okay? So again, all you're going to do is if you are a right-handed player, turn and tilt your paddle to 11 o'clock. If you're a left-handed player, you're going to turn and tilt your paddle down to 1 o'clock. Now, when you make contact, you are going to be able to come down onto the ball. Now, we kill two birds with one stone. Not only is our paddle angled down that we can hit the ball in the court, but now we are able to generate topspin on our shots. By tilting the paddle down, when I make contact, it's going to allow me to brush the back of the ball. Once again, by tilting the paddle down, when I swing, now I'm going to be able to come under and on top of the ball. That's going to make the ball spin and have topspin, and it's going to force it even more into the court. So anytime you have a high forehand ball, what are you going to do? Turn and tilt, boom, come down, and you will never miss your forehand high ball again. Now we are going to get into the backhand side. Some players, they struggle more on their backhand side than their forehand, and the only reason why is because it's their non-dominant side, and if they have two hands, it's more restricted. This tip is going to change the game for you once again. Just like you would do on the forehand side when you turn and tilt, you're going to do the exact same thing on the backhand side. The moment that you see the ball coming up higher than the net, what are you going to do? You're going to turn and tilt your paddle, that your paddle face is tilted downward. Again, 12 o'clock's up here, 6 o'clock's down here. If I'm a right-handed player, I'm tilting it at 1 o'clock. If I am a left-handed player, I'm tilting it at 11 o'clock. By turning and tilting the paddle downward, that's going to, again, force me to what? Hit down into the court. So here we are, high ball turn and tilt downward. Now it's a little bit difficult to feed the ball up in the air and then hit a two-handed backhand, but we're gonna keep going. Turn and tilt, one more, turn and tilt. That's going to keep that ball in the net. Same thing for the one-hander. A lot of players, they like to use the one-hander, especially for these put-away volleys, because you can get more of a flick with your paddle. Think two hands, you gotta use more of your left hand. One hand, you need more of a flick, but same exact thing. When I go, I see a high ball, what am I going to do? I'm going to turn and tilt and then go down on the ball. Again, I see a high ball, here we are, turn and tilt, and then I am going to go. I want you to go out on court if you struggle with missing long and have your partner, your opponent, have your ball shooter feed you just tons and tons of high balls, and get in the habit that any single time that I see a high ball coming, I'm going to automatically tilt my paddle. Any single time I have a high backhand coming, I'm going to automatically tilt my paddle down. This is going to ensure that I hit it into the court every single time. Now, there is a huge disclaimer that you have to understand before utilizing this tip, and that is to make sure you're gripping the paddle loose. Now, Tyler, you say and you mentioned gripping the paddle loose in every single video. Yes, but I really want you to understand, especially with the forehand and the backhand tilt. Here's why. If I grip this paddle super tight, what's going to happen is that my paddle is either going to be at or above my hand. Notice the tip of my paddle is at the point of my hand, okay? Now watch when I'm loose, watch what happens. The tip of the paddle is below my hand. Do you see that? When I squeeze, tip of the paddle is at or above my hand. When I release, the tip of the paddle is at or below my hand, preferably below. Same thing for the 1 and 2. Squeeze above, release below. By allowing yourself to be loose, that's going to allow you to get under the ball prior and during contact. Some players are going to struggle with this because they're going to tilt the paddle, but they're going to grip the paddle super tight, and it's still going to go long. I need to grip that paddle loose. So notice when the ball's up in the air, I'm gonna grip it loose, I'm gonna get under the ball, and it's going to be able to make it come in. By holding it loose, the paddle's going to be below my wrist, the tip of the paddle, and then during contact, I'm going to be able to brush the back of the ball. So make sure you are loose with this tip, and that's going to always keep the ball in and create maximum topspin when you hit. So now we're hitting every single aggressive ball at the kitchen. We're making it in the court every single time. We are never missing it long again because you learned this tip. Now we're going to teach you how to do the exact same thing for your drives. If you want to make sure that you get your drives not only in the court but at your opponents, this is the tip for you. Closing the paddle face will do wonders. So before we get into our instruction, let's move the camera back so we can be in a realistic place. Now, before we get into explaining the drive with tilting the paddle down, I want you to understand something. The closer I am to the kitchen, the less distance I have with court. The less court I have. The further back I am from the kitchen, the more court I have. So if I am super far back, there are two ways that I can hit the ball in, right? If I'm super far back, so the closer that I get to the kitchen, which means the less court that I have to work with, either there are two things that I can do. Number one is I can slow the ball down because gravity will keep the ball in. So what I mean by that is if I hit a ball this hard back here, it might go in. If I hit a ball the same speed up here, it's going to go out. Does that make sense? If I want to get the ball in, same swing, I have to either A, slow down the speed, so gravity is going to bring the ball in, or B, hit more topspin and increase my spin so the ball can go in. So once again, the closer you are to the court, if you're going to keep the same swing, you either A, have to hit the ball slower so gravity can work for you, or B, double the amount of spin so you can keep the ball in. And how do you double the amount of spin? By tilting the paddle down. By tilting the paddle down, this is going to allow you to hit aggressive inside the court drives into the court. Shots that you will normally miss long because you're not using this tip. So if you ever have a mid-court ball, I want you to really tilt down the paddle. Again, it's not a tennis racket, okay? So we're only going from 11 o'clock or 1 o'clock if you're lefty. But the moment that you have a ball in the transition zone, you need to play with spin if you're driving this ball. Okay, clearly you might want to drop it, but if you're going to take the drive, what you're going to do is you're going to tilt your paddle downward again, and you're going to brush with spin. The more you let that paddle go, the more topspin that you're going to have. Once again, being loose is applied into this as well. You need to be as loose as possible. You need to let that paddle work for you. By being loose, that's going to allow the paddle to be down so you can brush up on the ball at contact. So again, when you have a ball up here, don't slow your swing down what you would normally do, because if you're not utilizing this tip, and so many players, they don't, and they're here, what do they have to do? They either have to drop or they have to hit the ball slow, and hopefully their opponent's back, because if they're up, they're going to have an easy shot to put away. Instead of doing that, you're going to keep your same swing speed. You're not going to slow up. All you're going to do is tilt your paddle down. Now you're going to be able to keep the same swing speed and bring the ball in. That's the exact same thing for the backhand side as well. If I ever have a mid-court ball and I want to take it as a drive, instead of having an open paddle, all I'm going to do is tilt the paddle downward, and I'm going to be able to create topspin to bring that ball in. Same thing for the one-hander. I have a mid-court ball, I want to make it in, here we are, boom, and I'm going to keep the ball in. So I missed it a little bit long. If you ever struggle with topspin on your two-handed backhand side, what you're going to do is you're going to use your non-dominant hand or your top hand on your paddle. So I'm a right-handed player, so I'm using my left hand. Lefties are going to use their right hand. So you really want to utilize that topspin to spin the ball in. One more time, third time's the charm. Here we are, and there we are. So if you ever have a mid-court ball and you want to make it as well, be aggressive, you have to tilt the paddle downward. I'm going to show you guys once again from this angle. The further back you are, again, the more distance you have to cover. So I can either hit less spin, I can hit more hard, and I'm going to have more distance and the ball is going to go in. So here we are, ready? Same swing every single time. I want you guys to understand this. Here we are, swing. Okay, that was out. Here we are, let's try again. I swing. Okay, I just slowed down a little bit, right? I swing. Here we are, same one. Here we are, swing. Here we are, swing. Okay, I just slow it down even more. However, if I want to keep the same swing speed or even hit even faster when I get into the court and drive it, watch what I'm going to do. Okay, here we are. I can hit that hard. Now watch, I can double the amount of swing speed. Here we are, double the amount of swing speed, and look how much that ball is going to dip in. So what I want you to think is the closer you are inside the court with this paddle tilt tip, the more you need to accelerate your paddle speed. Players think when they have a short ball, oh, I need to get it in. Oh, I need to slow it up. No, if you are going to go for a drive, you need to double the amount of paddle speed that you have. The only way that you can hit a ball in up in the transition zone going for a drive is by doubling in your paddle speed. You need to make sure that you commit to your shot. So once again, in this video, we went over tilting our paddle down. Up at the kitchen, you will never miss a high ball again because you're going to angle the ball down into the court. Now, in the transition zone, as a drive, you are going to be able to make that drive while hitting just as hard or a little bit more, increasing your swing speed. I hope this tip helps you. It totally helped me. It helped me make every single one of my volleys when I was in this rut because I was missing, because I was opening my paddle up, and it completely changed my game. If you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns, please let me know in the comments below. Have a good one. Happy hitting. Make sure to follow me, subscribe, link in the description, and I will see you guys next time on court.